Hey, this is Peter Anthony with module number 3 in this series for professional marketers or CEOs as the Chief Emotion Officer. And this module is all about how to craft a story, how to structure a story. Now, there's many different ways to do this depending upon the sort of story you're telling, but today I'll be sharing with you a structure that's universal you can use for almost any story you're telling in your marketing role. And it really takes the shape of what's called the hero's journey. Now, you might have heard of the hero's journey. It's the journey originally developed by people like Joseph Campbell in looking at how movies are structured, or how the story in a movie is structured. And when you're crafting a story, you've got its beginning at a particular moment in time. It's almost, you can almost imagine that the story is zooming in, or the camera is zooming in on a particular moment. So it's starting at a time and it's granular in detail. So it's starting at a point in time, it's granular in detail. Rather than saying last year, it's in March last year, or it was last summer, or it was early one winter morning. So I can get a sense of imagining it, because what you're doing with this story is you're asking your audience to imagine this happening. And the more detail you can give them, the more they can imagine it, and the better that emotional engagement is going to start. So that's how it begins. Now, the story is about one main thing, one main hero, if you like. Now, the hero can be a person, the hero could be you, the hero could be a customer, the hero could be a consumer if you're in the FMCG business, or the hero could be a particular idea, or the hero could even be growth. But the story is about one main thing. It can't be about lots of things. It's got to be about one main thing. Now, that one main thing, in your case as a marketer, it would be a brand. When you think about that one main thing, there's a journey this brand is going on, or a journey this hero is going on. Now, the journey needs to involve something that is really interesting and important to us as an audience, otherwise we won't care. So it's important to us. And there's a series of challenges that the brand is facing, or the product is facing, if you like, and the brand is developing, or the ideas are developing, or the strategy is developing, and as it develops with these challenges, something new emerges, something changes, the brand gets refreshed, the brand becomes more relevant, and there's a resolution, so that at the end of the story, something good and better has happened in terms of this brand experience. And that's what really engages us. And when you think about the emotion comes from the challenge, and it comes from how much we care about the hero that you're talking about. And as audience members, it's part of your job as a marketer to engage us emotionally and to care about what it is that you're discussing and sharing with us. Now, that's a universal structure for a story that you can use. Now, let me give you an example of one I worked on recently with a client of mine that might help you understand how that works. Now, this particular client was working in a FMCG company, and they were selling a cereal product. The story was of a consumer that we're thinking about. Now, let me tell you the story as we developed it. So I'd like to introduce you to Jen. Jen's 40 years old. She's got 2 young children. She's a single mum. She's got a 6-year-old and 8-year-old, and she works 4 days a week. And she's very busy, and caring for the kids is a major concern for her. She lives a fair way away from where she works, needs to leave early in the morning, needs to get back later at night. Fortunately, her parents live close by, and they can often help with the childcare, but it's very, very tricky for her. One of the concerns that she has is nutrition for her kids, particularly breakfast, because she's noticed there's nothing she can give her kids for breakfast that they'll eat, nothing she can leave them, and she's got no time to do anything really complicated or expensive. So she's racking her brain thinking, what can I do for the kids for breakfast? Now, and it's a big concern for her. Now, she's aware that her kids used to eat like an oats product, like a porridge product for breakfast, but more recently they just don't care for it anymore. It just doesn't taste great, so they just don't eat it at all. But she's also noticed that the supplier of this porridge product has recently introduced a flavour for these oats, which is very similar to the flavour of a favourite milk treat that they love to enjoy too. She's noticed this in Coles when she went shopping on Thursday night, checked the nutrition, it looked good, it tasted good, it looked good nutritionally. She got it ready for the kids the next day. They started eating it. They started having breakfast. She's relieved. She's a little bit less stressed in the morning than what she normally is because the kids can have breakfast. And now, 6 months later, it's a very happy family, at least for those very busy breakfast time mornings when she's rushing off to work. That's just an example of how you can use the story. The hero, you can think about the hero as being Jen. She's both the shopper, her kids are the consumer, and the journey that we're following with her and how it got resolved by that brand really refreshing itself in that particular category to make it much more relevant for her and for her kids. That's an example of how you can craft a story. There's other stories that you can think about crafting too, that have different sorts of structures. The story, for example, of who you are as a leader and how to tell that story, or the story of why this particular presentation or this particular idea is important. That has a different structure to a very particular structure, or a story of how something works. But that's some ideas on universal structure, universal hero's journey structure, in how you can tell more stories as a marketer and as your role as a chief emotion officer. Next time we'll be looking at how to really connect with an audience and engage with them very, very closely using storytelling elements. Until then, this is Peter Anthony saying bye for now and tell more stories.